Being trans is not a choice. I didn't have any other choice.
That is actually incorrect. Hello friends, welcome once again to Look and Live. You are here with Pastor James Devlin, and this is The Perspective. Okay friends, we're going to talk about this interview that was done by Lia Thomas, controversial figure in the world today as a trans female, a trans man, right? A trans man who's now identified as a woman, is part of athletes or women athletes swimming and has been dominating. And prior to that, he wasn't doing good, but since he's now transitioned, he has been winning. And I guess, I don't know if I sound confused, I'm sorry. It's because this is confusing. Okay, but nevertheless, we're gonna listen to this discussion here, and I'll come back and give you my perspective on this. And I think there's some things to hear and understand to grasp the meaning of what's happening here, but at the same time, you know, you can expect the truth coming from me as far as I'm concerned. So let's get into this thing. Are you ready for this? All right, Lia Thompson opening up now, talking about some of the backlashes that she has been receiving, a lot of things that has been going on in regard to her transition into women's sports and dominating. And let's hear what she has to say.
Have you heard the name Lia Thomas?
Lia Thomas, a transgender athlete.
Her presence has been a big source of controversy.
We've seen split support.
What has it been like to be Lia Thomas?
It's been a very, very interesting experience at times. There's been a lot of noise, but it's been incredibly rewarding and meaningful to be able to be authentic and to be myself and be out and proud as a trans woman.
Lia Thomas pulling away over the final 150 meters. Thomas wins the NCAA championship.
How does it make you feel when you think about the fact that you're the first transgender person to ever win an NCAA Division I championship?
I'm very humbled and honored to hold that title, and I can only hope that I'm able to give other trans people the inspiration and motivation I was given.
Now, what is wrong with this primarily? Listen, I'm all for, you can be whatever you want to be. This is America, okay? You have the right to be free, making your decisions and everything. But a man transition as a woman playing in women's sport and winning looks really weird. It's because it is weird, okay? But nevertheless, I'm going to allow them to talk, but I will comment on that. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat the fact that this is actually strange. And I think somebody wanted to be strange. Somebody really wanted this to be strange. And they know very, very clearly that many of us were going to oppose this. And I think the opposition and the division and the backlashes, they wanted that, right?
What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about you, specifically?
Misconception.
The biggest misconception, I think, is the reason why I transitioned, where people will say, oh, she just transitioned, so she would have an advantage, so she could win. I transitioned to be happy.
So you transitioned to have an advantage so you could win. That is a lie. You're going to transition to be happy. Okay, why didn't you transition and yet remain in male sports? You could have done that because you will still be happy and not be part of women's sport and dominating their field. You see what I'm saying? So you could have been transition. You could have transitioned and be a woman, fine, and yet still compete against men, because there's a lot of gay men who are still in men's sports and they're doing just fine, right? They are homosexuals or whatever, but they're still competing against men. But I think the fact that Lia Thomas wasn't winning against the man, she or he went over to the ladies and started dominating. I think that's really what's going on here. And I also want to acknowledge the fact there is a level of selfishness here, a lack of respect for the women, because to say you did it to be happy? Do you care about their happiness? Do you care about womanhood at all, to the point where you fail to realize that these women, their value needs to be acknowledged and respected? You trampling on their value so that you can be happy? Really? Anyway.
To be true to myself. It was a very difficult time. I was just stuck in this depression, and I struggled with suicidal thoughts. Being trans is not a choice. I didn't have any other choice.
That is actually incorrect. Now, the stressful aspect is real. People go through that. I don't know what exactly it is like, so I can only comment based on the fact that there are other helpers out there. There's other ways to get help. To be part of women's sport wasn't part of the solution. Okay, I will not be able to drink this Kool-Aid. I'm sorry, Lia Thomas, I can't. That doesn't make any sense to me. But the idea that I didn't have a choice to be trans is also another lie. You did have a choice. Everything in life is based on decision. Okay, you have a choice to find other help, to get counseling, you can go to God and pray. Guess what? God can help. There are others way. I'm not sure what that process was like for Lia Thomas prior to transitioning. So I have a level of understanding here as well, but I just cannot accept the fact that people are saying they don't have a choice in the decision to be whatever they chose to become. That's just a pure fact lie. It's a lie. Okay, you gotta make that decision. You made a decision. Yes, you probably were bent in certain direction. You probably were influenced in certain directions, but ultimately the choice was yours. Okay, we have to be honest.
Because not transitioning was not leading me anywhere.
What are some of the changes that you experienced?
I started hormone replacement therapy in May of 2019. One of the biggest was loss of muscle mass. I had a lot of fat redistribution, changed sort of how my body looks and the shape. I shrunk actually probably about an inch in height. My feet got smaller. I'm about half a shoe size or a full shoe size smaller now. And so it really does change your entire body.
Don't agree. I don't agree. There are some very minimal changes to hormone therapy or some, hormone blockers, whatever it is you want to use. But the very obvious, most important changes, internal organs, as far as your lungs and your shoulders and your biceps, you may have lost some muscle mass, and your strength is also remained the same. You may have gotten weaker to a degree, comparing to other men, but as far as in comparison to women, you still have a very obvious advantage. To deny that is just a pure fact lie. Okay, there many doctors have come out and confirmed that taking these things don't actually change the fact that you are still okay.
What reaction do you have toward other folks who feel that you shouldn't be able to compete?
Trans women competing in women's sports does not threaten women's sports as a whole.
Yes, it does. This is so controversial. Again, I think I'm gonna stop this video because it's very one-sided. It's very biased. Obviously, this is in support to Lia Thomas. They're not trying to get to the bottom of the facts. We have one person talking here. This is not being challenged. Maybe if I find another video, I'll come back and make another one. But this is very obvious that this is intentional. Okay, this talk about men joining women's sport is obviously inhumane, is unconstitutional. Listen, it's pure confusion. Okay, it's deliberate. It's not even a failure. Okay, this is intentional from the very get-go. It's very obvious. The other thing I'm also thinking about is if they really wanted to solve this problem with transgender individuals who wanted to play certain sports, why didn't they open a transgender sports for people who were once men and became women? Open a transgender women's sport or something, right? Why do you have to mix them with the ladies? They knew this was going to create frictions. So this is very intentional. I'm not blaming Lia Thomas here particularly. I just think he's just doing exactly what he was set up to do. I think there are some other filters and powers behind the scene here that are pushing this thing to create more division in our country. This is very intentional. I don't want to listen to the rest of this video because this video is obviously orchestrated to speak in a positive way for Lia Thomas, not simply looking at facts for what they are and be somewhat objective to the reality of what's going on here. So it's obvious that they're not really trying to get to the bottom of the facts. But nevertheless, what's your perspective on this? I think this is purely confusion. It is not biblical. It is unchristian. I take a bold stand against it. I think Lia Thomas have the right to do whatever they want to do, but to infringe upon women's sport and do what she's been doing, wicked, evil. I don't agree with it. It's wrong. Period. The other thing is, I don't hate Lia Thomas. I want to make it clear I don't, but I hate what she's doing or he's doing right now, because what you're doing right now, you're setting a trend, you're creating problem and division in our country in the name of my happiness. Okay, no, that's not supposed to be that way, and I don't think there's no way to justify it. I myself will never be able to accept it. What much more can be said about that? And again, this is ESPN, so what do we expect? ESPN has their sided view about certain things, and they using this talk to push whatever agenda they want to. And I want nothing else to said about that. And at the end of the day, one thing is certain: God created us as men and women. There is a difference. And I was speaking to my son earlier, and one thing we were talking about is how come women don't transition and go to men's sport? Why is the transitioning happening more from men's side over into a women's sport? What if a women say, I want to play football, I'm strong enough and built enough to do that, and they go to a men's sport and get hit really hard? Would that be fair? No, it's not fair. But we as men, suppose men, go over to the women's sport, and then we say, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, it doesn't threaten. Are you serious? Come on, man. I'm done talking. Anyway, I'll end this video right here. Like and subscribe to the page. I have nothing else to say. Have a good one. Bye.